Well, in my last video, I had a pretty nice day, despite the crowds, at the primary canyon of Zion National Park. I stayed in the parking lot, did some night sky photography, headed back to St. George, got a few hours of sleep, more of a quick nap, before my neighbors started carrying on. So I was up before I wanted to be up, but hey, I decided to make lemonade out of lemons, so I got on the road and headed out back towards Zion. One of the things that was really kind of cool is I talked to people about the Kolob Terrace Road, and they said that that's an area that I needed to go explore. Well, since I was up before it was early and it was raining, I thought, well, I'd just go ahead and make that turn off there and go up Kolob Terrace Road and see what I could see. As I headed up there, it was raining pretty hard, but I did manage to catch the sunrise, and it was absolutely beautiful. I got to the burn area and just really marveled at the stark scenery of just the sunrise, prickly pear cactuses, and just the rain and the weather. And I thought, well, this is pretty cool. I'm going to take some photos here. But I still might want to, since it's early, go back and try Zion again. So I turned around and went back down to the road towards Zion, and the rain just got heavier and heavier and heavier. But rather than get discouraged, I thought of the old Irish poem about how it's always the darkest before the light comes. And I used to think that was a biblical quote. It's really not. God's word does tell us that when we're at the end of our endurance, then that's when he can show us his strength. So that's where we see God's power and provision. But it's not a biblical quote that just before the light, there's the area of greatest darkness. It actually is from a old, I believe it was a Fuller poem that came from. But anyway, I turned around at the entrance there, and you saw in the very first clip, and I decided I would just have an enjoyable day. And there's a area with a number of little shops and curio things, and it was called Fort Zion. It's part of the Virgin River Resort area there. And so I stopped and started taking pictures of prickly pear cactuses and their flowers and everything like that. Now, why do I have this interesting passion about prickly pear cactuses? Well, I grew up in the area where we were always trying to be able to know what we could eat. And so there are several parts of the prickly pear cactus that are edible. And so I was fascinated with this, but it was a particularly beautiful bloom in that spring of the flowers and the roses of the prickly pear cactuses. So I spent way too many hours taking pictures of the prickly pear cactuses. I said, that Kolob Terrace Road was so beautiful. I'm going to go back up there, and I'm going to head up towards the reservoir. I did not realize that Kolob Canyon was a separate trip. I thought that the road would continue all the way up to Kolob Canyon, which is another part of Zion National Park. But in reality, the access is on I-15, so you can't really get from Kolob Terrace Road to Kolob Canyon, which I made that trip the next day. But anyway, enjoy these photos as they're being played in the background here as I'm making the drive. Had an event-filled climb up towards the reservoir. I never got there because it started snowing too hard. And again, with no chains handy, I didn't want to have to stop and park the truck. And I'd pull out and try to get the chains out of the back of the truck. I had them with me, but they were buried with other gear at this point. I didn't think I would need them again. After all, it's mid-May. Hey guys, it's absolutely a beautiful area here. I've kind of gotten out of the car because it's pretty much slowed down and snowing. I'm going to scan across here and show you the scenery off in the distance. I came down out of the heavier snow showers. There's a really nice valley down there. I'm going to zoom out in on it. Again, we're in Zion National Park, just a different part of it, and it's beautiful in its own sort of way. again, just off on a turnout in the road, and taking a little break here from the snow. It's very cold right now. It's about 34 degrees, but beautiful part of the world. The next day, I did leave early and went up to Kolob Canyon, and it's an area that I came back to in the fall, both Kolob Canyon and the Kolob Terrace Road, to capture some fall photos. And it is a gorgeous area. You know, I'm kind of glad that they had the inclement weather. You know, it can make for boring photography when you always have blue skies, but when it's foggy and raining, that's sometimes where you have your best photos. So later on, I discovered the real departure point to go to Kolob Canyon. That's a separate area of Zion National Park, and it's beautiful in its own right. I did have the chance to do that in the fall with the fall colors, as well as to do a brief trip again of the Kolob Terrace area. It's interesting, when I went to Kolob Canyon, it was fairly clear. When I got down to Kolob Terrace again, it started out clear, but by the end of the afternoon it rained. And I really want to mention that I had complained about the crowding on the buses and the perm lines and all the time it took to travel. What I didn't mention is in 2021, they implemented a permit system for the shuttle buses. And the good news is that's alleviated a lot of the crowding and the lines. The bad news is those permits are super hard to come by. So you have to go online to the recreation.gov website. They have a phone app for it, which I'm showing now. Get your permits. The only other option is to get a commercial shuttle bus that does run within the park area for the main canyon. None of that's required as far as the bus permits in the other two areas, the Kolob Terrace or in the Kolob Canyon. However, some of the trails do require permitting, and some of those trails require canyoneering type equipment, ropes and things like that. So please do your homework. The wilderness areas of Zion require permits. Please check that out. There are some really cool opportunities for the fit individuals that can do overnight hiking. I came across some of those folks and some of those trails, and it was really awesome. When the weather was particularly bad, I actually came across a group that looked kind of miserable and cold, but they had come halfway across the country, and they were going to do the hike from Kolob Terrace Road down into the canyon. And so more power to them. You know, if I wasn't my age, I would probably love to do that too. But it was a beautiful day, despite the adverse weather to start with. And by the end of the day, we just had scattered thunderstorms run through, and I got some fabulous photos. So it was a day of sleep deprivation. Like I said, sometimes before the light can come, the darkness comes first. And it was a wonderful, wonderful time. Hopefully, you've enjoyed the photos, just rolling through some of the videos, some of the attempts at doing time lapse. Really an awesome place. Like I said, I once wasn't enough. I've never been back to the main canyon of Zion. That'll have to, be another trip where I have the ability to plan months and months out.